And now that way we're both on it because we're both on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I put, Red Pill Rocky. I'm trying to think, how do I add your? You should be seen on there.
I can't go live from there until February 20th.
Oh yeah, no. My remember my Club Rico podcast Instagram?
Yeah.
I can't go live for another 300 days.
Damn. I didn't know you could get a strike that long.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't even know what I did that's any different than what I'm doing on the Safe and Effective podcast that I'm on now. This has been the only page, and I don't know how, but some of the videos I'm posting is getting like 200,000 views, 300,000 views. It's like, and it's mainly just people who are concerned about all the weird trans stuff that's going on. Those videos are getting like tons of traction because it's real. They're actually making their move. Like there's like this, like I'll give you an example. And now you have a daughter now. Yeah. So I just could not imagine if this thing right here walked into the bathroom while you were standing there. Hold on, there's a video. Oh, it just I don't know if it posted. For some reason I'm being censored now that everything I post, it violates no matter what it is. And I have to go into the help section and do a review. Every single post has to be reviewed, and then it will finally post it. But no, there's actually this this dude right here. He did a video today. I'm not certain. He did a video today saying how he walked into a bathroom and there's a 3-year-old girl standing there looking at him and looked at him like, "What are you doing here?" And he was like, the parent must have been in the stall, and if they would have came out and just saw me and the little girl standing here, they would have just assumed. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just go to the men's room?
Yeah.
You're a man. And it's like, what do you mean you're that worried about the parent? And he's like, yeah, it could have got violent. You're a man standing there with my little daughter in the women's restroom.
Yeah.
You're a pervert. And I would be doing society a favor if I just made sure that you were no longer standing here in this space anymore.
Yep.
But these people are suicidal, but they're making their move right now. And now a lot of people are wanting to engage and they're wanting to say stuff about it, which I commend it, but I just wish they would have started sooner. People, you give an inch, they take a mile. People have been too quiet for too long, unfortunately.
They have. Yeah, the pendulum always swings, and I feel like the whole trans thing, the pendulum swung a little too hard. So we're about to see it start swinging back the other direction, and there's no telling where it's going to stop at, because extreme one direction usually leads to extreme the other direction as a rebound.
I'll be honest, I don't see a time, I can't see in a future where anyone's going to be like, you know what? Remember all that weird trans and gay kid stuff? Because, no one likes gay kids. But, remember those days back before Trump was elected? Let's go back to that. Let's vote Democrat again.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't see I don't see how that can happen. Because you know what it was? I feel like people were becoming too accepting of just any and everything. But again, you give an inch, they take a mile, and now we're just taking everything back. The stuff that Trump's doing even today, that's why I said, the revolt against DEI has started. But look at, I don't know if you saw this. This aired earlier today, but this is Trump reading from the FAA website about who they want to hire. Did you hear this yet?
I don't think I have. No, if it's about the FAA and the helicopter crash in DC, if that's what he's referring to, I haven't seen this now.
Well, yeah. See, I wanted to lead with this because this is the precursor to that. This is how we got to that point. So let's play. So this is gonna lead up to the crash today. Let's see how we got to that point, shall we?
Sure. Yeah, let's go.
The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And there says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that, I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened, because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target.
Why would you want to hire somebody with severe mental issues to even work at a library? Why would you want to hire someone with severe mental issues to work at a park as a janitor, let alone in the federal aviation? Why would you want someone like that directing air traffic?
Well, I mean, think about it logically. They're handing guns to people with mental disabilities and telling them they can be active duty service members, and actually giving them weapons and telling them to go train with those weapons to be one of the members of our armed forces. It doesn't surprise me they're giving these weirdos and DEI hires the keys to whatever castle they want. They haven't gotten any pushback, and Donald Trump is the one that's finally pushing back, and I'll give him kudos for that. Good for him. I'm glad I'm glad he's getting rid of the transgenders out of the military. They don't belong there. I'm glad that he's doing away with the DEI program. They don't belong there. We should live in a merit-based society, and based on your qualifications and what your capabilities are. I don't want to put somebody who thinks that they can cut their penis off and become a woman in charge of a spaceship rocket or something like that. You know what I mean? Or have them attempt to do brain surgery just because we need a transgender doctor. So we're letting this guy take a hack at it. Get out of here.
I'll be honest with you. I don't trust or want anybody in charge of anything that does not have a future. When you do the calculations on the mental illness that these people suffer, a lot of the manipulation drives them to these places in life, because when they're undiagnosed autistic, for one.
Yep.
But then in junior high and high school, they're manipulated by perverts and pedophiles who tell them that you're not actually autistic, you're gay. You're not actually autistic, you're trans. And then they celebrate you and they give a positive reinforcement when you're a boy, but you show up wearing a dress. Or you're a girl and you dress like a boy and you cut your hair off, and they're clapping for you. And you grow older and you finally wake up and realize that you want to have kids, you want to get married, but then you think about all the sick stuff you were manipulated into doing when you were younger. And then, unfortunately, a lot of these people, they self-delete before they turn 34. That's why you see a lot of them young.
Yep.
You don't see them making it to 35 years old or to 40 or 45. Because in my opinion, from what I can tell, humans have lived a certain type of way since the beginning of time. To try to replace that and reinvent the wheel now is the equivalent of somebody trying to water grass with Gatorade.
Yeah.
You can't change nature. There's no prospects of ever getting married and having children. Then you have nothing to live for.
Yep.
That's why I tell people this gay agenda being pushed on these kids and on young people is really the depopulation agenda.
Yep.
And it all ties into the stuff that got me and you kicked off of social media that we used to talk about, that we don't have to talk about on YouTube, but we can turn YouTube off in a little while and just talk on Rumble.
Yep.
But we know, the whole thing is depopulation. When I see that the FAA wants people flying airplanes and guiding airplanes who have severe mental illness, that is purposeful.
Yep.
They're trying to cause so many incidents in the skies that people volunteer to no longer want to fly anymore.
Yep.
It because once flying becomes too dangerous and it becomes too much of a hassle, less and less people are going to do it.
And
But
I think seeing that helicopter crash in DC, I think that kind of plays into a factor here. We have the technology to fly those Apache helicopters as if they're drones. They could fly that like it's a remote control helicopter in their backyard. And with that crash today, there's some speculation that that is exactly what happened.
that's what I was going to ask you. In your opinion, do you think they've been seeing, because those Apache helicopters are huge. People keep
Yeah.
saying they see these huge drones everywhere around DC and on the East Coast. Do you think they were remote controlled Apache helicopters and people were mistaking them for drones? Or
No, I mean, Apache helicopter, even though it's one of the quieter ones, it is still loud in comparison to one of the drones, because it takes, when you have smaller, like when you've got 4 propellers versus just one big one, you got to
big one,
swing
yeah.
that, you got to swing that bigger one harder and to create the lift to lift something that heavy off the ground. So it produces a lot more downward force, which causes sound,
No.
breaking the sound barrier. When you've got 4 propellers, one at each corner, you don't need each one spinning as much because all 4 of them are sharing the load to lift something smaller. Those drones are real. I don't believe what the White House is telling us they are. I do have followers on IG that have sent me videos, personal ones that they've recorded, like they're there every night. And Trump finally just started looking into it, and the White House press secretary gave some bullshit ass response on what it was, and they're claiming it's hobbyist drones, and then some of our drones that are there for research purposes. Like, man, get out of here! I'm not buying that crap.
I don't know.
Especially when they said that they're spraying stuff, weird stuff.
In the
That's the
sky.
weird part. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all connected. I'm just not necessarily sure what the big picture is. What do
Yeah.
how does it all connect? Now, don't get me wrong, them spraying reflective metals in the upper ionosphere, turning it into basically a movie screen.
Yep.
Okay, I can understand they're going to project things in the sky. That's believable. They're setting us up for that. But
Yep.
I don't understand where these drones come into play. And I would think that I think we're going to see more of these mid-air collisions because, like you said, these can be remotely controlled. And people don't believe that that's the case. And I shared a video earlier, actually, where they talk about that. I believe it's right here. A tablet-controlled robotic Black Hawk helicopter can fight fire in these tests. I'm like, wait a minute, a remote-controlled Black Hawk helicopter?
Yep.
Lockheed Martin and DARPA. Why? And look at, there's no one piloting
Yep.
this aircraft.
Yep.
It's just like, I don't trust driverless cars, and I don't trust pilotless helicopters.
Yeah.
Why do they? It's like if you remove people from it, it'll do whatever you tell it to do, and it's not going to be afraid of its own mortality.
Well, and then it's also still vulnerable to exterior attacks. If there's a radio signal that's controlling that signal can be interrupted. You can cut that connection between whoever the controller is. Someone can remotely take over that aircraft remotely. A good hacker,
so it could be hacked.
Exactly, and that's dangerous. You start putting them things up in the air, and all it takes is the right country like China or North Korea that has great hackers, and they can hack in and seize them things and do a lot of damage with them things. I don't know if they're carrying payloads on those things, like rockets or munitions of any sort. I would hope not, that they're not sending those autonomous things up there. They could fall out of the sky, some sort of fluke mistake, and land in somebody's neighborhood and level an entire block because there was no pilot in there making real decisions. It was just, I flew out of range for my remote. Kind of like a remote control car or something.
I mean, but think about it. That's 6. There were no survivors today at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and this Apache helicopter was on a normal path. The plane was where it was supposed to be. How did air traffic control not coordinate them not hitting each other? And
Yep.
if this was remote controlled, would they not have to be in contact with air traffic control in another area?
They would, yeah. Well, the White House is the statement the White House gave was the reason for the collision is because they only had one air traffic controller working that night with an extremely heavy load of flights coming in and out, when normally they're supposed to have two air traffic controllers for that kind of workload. And is basically they're trying to say that the air traffic controller was overtasked for his work that night, and that's how he was able to he accidentally overlooked this mistake. That's from the White House. I can't,
I mean, I'll be honest I see the same pattern across the board. They're trying to get the competent people out of these positions, and they want to replace them with DEI, incompetent, undertrained people with no experience, because they want incompetence on purpose.
That's what they did with the police. They did that with the police back in 2020 in the COVID.
And think about it. They did the same thing with our military. George Floyd riots. And remember, and think about it. That also affected the firefighters. Remember, right after they celebrated everybody for, being so brave during the scamdemic, immediately they wanted to fire you and take away all your benefits if you did not comply with this unconstitutional request that, if you know the name of this podcast, Safe and Effective, you know what request we're talking about. They know what we're talking about. We just don't want to get suspended for 300 days apiece again. So we got to talk around it. But it's like you're putting these people in place because you're purposely causing incompetence. And because think about it, if you can bring down a company like Dylan Mulvaney, the way he brought down Bud Light, what they can do the same thing with the country. And I think they've weaponized these two, the LGTB and the BLM. They weaponized those two communities. I remember when you and I first started doing these shows, and I was telling you, I said, hey, there is no Black community and the gay community no more. They've merged. And I call it like the Black Army, BLAQ Army. And people were like, no, that's not the case. They're not the same thing. And I was like, they literally have signs at their rallies that say, to be Black is to be gay. And people didn't understand where that was coming from. And now there was
a Black transgender
right
lady.
Here. I'll play it right now.
I seen that one.
Now they're not this man dressed as a woman. He's not asking you if the two communities are the same. He's basically putting you on notice and letting you know. The public didn't know, the community didn't know, but now they're a part of this thing that's being weaponized against the country. You're seeing people reject it now because, okay, what's more important to me, the Black community or the country that I live in? I'm going with the country. And if that means that we have to purge people from these communities out of every system in government and in management of our, state governments and local governments, then we have to do it. Look at this. This is a guy from American Airlines right here. This is another example.
Hi, I'm Brad Mills, Deputy Administrator at the Federal Aviation Administration.
That's the Deputy Administrator of the FAA right now. This is the guy.
Looking for the best and brightest to join us as air traffic controllers. We need a diverse group of air traffic controllers to bring distinct perspectives to handle the ever-changing aerospace landscape. I'm calling on students and alumni from HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, and tribal colleges to apply now to become air traffic controllers.
Everyone but white people, basically.
Listen, he's not asking for people who are the best, who are the brightest. He's not asking for those with the most experience, those who have a love for the job that can handle the pressure. He's asking you to come over there based on how you look or what type of objects you like shoved inside you.
I mean, it's basically a bold statement of saying we want anyone who is not white. That's essentially what he's saying. Anyone who's not white.
They love the gay whites. It's the straight white men that they don't like. The gay whites, they celebrate the gay white ones. They love them. The trans ones, and they do cartwheels for them. But when it comes to straight whites, they hate them with a passion and they look at them as public enemy number one. This is a DEI hire, and he's looking for more DEI hires, and a DEI hire is not going to call out another DEI hire. That's why they're trying to completely overtake the entire landscape of these industries. If Trump did not get elected, and then we didn't stop this, who knows where we would be in maybe another. We couldn't have took another 4 years. I would give it a year and a half, 2 years. Where would we have been, Rocky? We would have been.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
I had already. I'll be honest with you, because people were making it seem like it was going to be a close race with Kamala. I had already moved out of the country. I had went down to Colombia. I had already moved out. I had got a place. I was gone.
Yeah.
I was gone. I came back here to vote.
Yeah.
And then when Trump won, I'm like, well, I guess that engagement I had going on down there with that Colombia, well, I guess that's over now. I think I'm gonna stay here in my country. You know, because why do I need to? I don't have to be there anymore, because I can stay here and work on home. But I'll be honest with you, it's not looking good. Just because, look how many, think about it. Our military are full of Marxists, trans, people who don't like the country, but they want a check and they want their college paid for and they want their surgeries paid for. Not because they have a affinity for the nation, they want to protect their family, they want to protect our way of life. When we're sharing spaces with men that are mentally ill and DEI hires, what way of life are we protecting? That's where the demoralization of the military is coming in, I'm noticing too.
Well, it's not just the military, it's society as a whole. The whole LGBT rainbow community or whatever, they started out with just wanting gay acceptance. And then it was, we want the trans part to be accepted. Then it was, we want to teach it to children. And then they start propagandizing the kids using people like Lil Nas X and getting the children hooked on songs like Old Town Road, gonna take my horse to the Old Town Road. And he came across as just a cool black guy that's kind of cowboyish, and then
doing the cowboy thing.
As soon as they get all the kids lured in, they flip the script on him, and he's a Satan worshiping homosexual. Sicko. Yeah, he's just a freaking weirdo homo.
He's twerking on the devil in a thong.
Yep, and those kids looked up to him. Yeah, then kids looked up to him. And listen, the other thing is that with the whole rainbow community, they lure the kids in with parades. Kids love parades. They throw candy out and toys or beads or whatever. Kids love going to parades. It gets them out of the house.
Kids love coloring books. Kids love all the crayons and the markers. It's good. The same way they said Joe Camel could influence kids to want to buy cigarettes. I don't understand how you don't think that drag queen story hour will influence these kids, or just
or a parade full of everyone wearing bright different colors, pinks and blues and orange and all the colors of the rainbow, but those same people are simulating homosexual sex acts or lesbian sex acts on these floats, and these kids are watching like a legitimate rainbow colored homosexual show, and they're just their parents bring them to this stuff. Their parents need to have their kids taken away.
I'm watching the other day, I'm watching a video of because I live in Austin too, so I live between both these two cities. And in Austin there was a drag queen thing for kids, and they were like blocking so that you couldn't see what the parents look like, but they're literally taking their kids in there. There are men dressed as women dancing, and they're giving them money. And then they let the kids go out there and dance, and they give them money too, like simulating a strip show.
Yep.
What the hell are you grooming these kids to do? But then now everybody pretends like they care about grooming, but they have nothing to say about that. And that kind of worries me, because why are people selective with their outrage? This is a real thing that's happening. They cannot have kids, so they need your kids. But but think about it. Look at these parents. I shared a video a few weeks ago that got over 700,000 views, and I had thousands of comments, and I'll look it up. But it was you could tell it was a husband, a wife, and a kid, and the wife was all about it, and you could tell the husband was just he was like a hostage. He knew if he said the wrong thing, he's getting hit for alimony, he's getting divorced. He'll never see his kid. He'll never see his kid again, and he just kind of has to go along with it. But he doesn't want to, and it was just troubling that it's a lot of it is the women that they want to fit in with other women, and they'll do it at their own child's expense. And it's
You know, I
scary.
don't think women really want to fit in with each other. They behind each other's backs, women talk more shit about each other than anyone else in the whole world that I've ever come. I have dealt with women my whole life. You know,
Sam.
what they say about other women behind each other's backs is fucking disgusting.
So what
But
is
then
so who are they virtue signaling for then with all this?
I think they're giving that. They're trying to come off as alpha, but the only people that they can really be alpha around is other women or try to dominate. So they try to make other women look subordinate to them, not as valuable as them. They want to pump their own ego up while bringing other women's egos down. But in public, they give this women are strong, this unity, like girl power, all this other stuff. But behind closed doors, the same girls that were on each other's team will be talking trash behind each other's back in private. You
And
know what I'm talking about. You've dealt
I
with
know.
women, you know how
I
catty
know,
they are.
I've been dealing with women my whole life, and the thing
Yeah.
is, they don't get along. If there's not a man in the equation, it never works.
Yep.
It can't work. Two women are
Nope.
it's not going to work out. You need
Nope.
a man there to have balance.
Yep.
Because I'll be honest, from what I can ascertain, women are children.
They
That's
are.
why
I mean, look at The
it's
View. I mean, look at the TV show The View. That's
The
what
View.
happens when you put a bunch of women together. They turn into nasty old hags, man.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I can't believe that show's even still on the air. What type of person is listening to a Whoopi Goldberg and thinking, you know what, she has her head on straight? Or the other ones, I don't even know their names. I mean, I don't know. I would see AOC being on something like that, but
Yeah.
she's also an idiot, narcissist,
Yes. Yep.
grifter. I mean,
Yep.
they go along with any grift, no matter what
Yep.
it is. If it makes them, what does they say? If it smells, it sells. Basically, they look for
Yep.
anything they can to garner attention and
Yep.
sympathy.
Yep.
But I think that our sympathy modules in our bodies as Americans, I think it's starting to get callous. I'm noticing a lot more
Yeah.
people. I don't think the manipulations, I think it's wearing off. I don't see a
Yeah.
lot of people. I'm seeing less and less people virtue signal. I'm seeing more and more
Yeah.
people being open about the fact that they don't agree with certain things. And they never have.
I think one of the best things that has happened for the Black community as a whole to kind of wake them up out of the matrix was when Trump signed the executive order releasing the JFK and MLK files.
Man,
And
did you see Blanche and Chad when they did the MLK when they went over the files?
No, I haven't, but I have seen a lot of people sharing those and giving their thoughts, and a lot of the Black commentators are saying, if we were lied to about Martin Luther King, what else have we been lied to? You know, Black people are starting to wake up now. When you put Black people and white people together and say, "Hey, listen, we're not playing government bullshit games anymore," that's a dangerous thing. You know, because now you've got a government that is trying to fill its cabinet positions with DEI hires, the military with DEI people, the transgenders, the gays, and all that other stuff. And then you've got, rednecks and Bloods and Crips teaming up together. I mean, I don't care how much firepower the U.S. military has. If you don't have competent fighters, which it seems like there's not many competent fighters that are walking around saying that I'm transgender,
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. The common enemy of all Americans is the LGBTQP. No matter if you're a redneck, if you're a Blood, if you're a Crip, no matter what type of American you are, everybody has an affinity for children.
Yep.
We all can agree children are innocent.
Yep.
And they must be protected. If there's another group that specifically targets children, and they don't discriminate, they go after the children from every background. If we know there's a group openly targeting our children, that's a common enemy, the same as a UFO that would come down and that would unite the world. Right now, our UFO moment is all of us now uniting against the LGBTQP community, openly targeting our children. Like I keep saying this all the time. Nobody likes gay kids. Think about it. Nobody likes Dwayne Wade's gay son that he pretends is a girl. And no one really likes Magic Johnson's fucking son. No one wants this big ass this big ass boy walking around dressed like a feather.
Yep.
Like no one wants to see that. So
Yep.
when you're pushing that and you're showing people this could be your kid too, we have to reject it. Yeah, no one wants to be the first one to jump out and say these things openly, but you know what? You're going to have to take a stand against
Well,
it.
at one point they did. I mean, if you think about it, at one point they did. You know, I'm about to be 43 years old this year, and it was bullying that used to correct that kind of behavior as a kid.
It was bullying. You got
and
to
they
bring
had
back
to do
bullying.
You have to be nice to everybody. So now when the homeboy shows up, you know, what happened?
Oh, it kind of it froze a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, you know, so now, you know, first they had to do away with bullying. Once they did away with the bullying portion, then they told everybody you have to accept everybody. You know, you have to love everybody. You have to, you know, you can't be mean to certain people. And so when stupid ideas started coming out of these stupid ass people, then should I not cuss on YouTube?
I'll be honest. I think we can say words like ass and stuff. I don't think that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, I didn't put that this was a show for kids anyway. I mean, it's for adults.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. So you know, you remove the bullies, then you tell everybody they have to be nice, and then when stupid ideas come out of people like, hey, I feel like I'm a cat today, you can't tell that person that they're an idiot, and now you're forcing these children to accept stupid ideas. So down the road when they're grown-ups and the government tries to force you to accept a stupid idea like taking an experimental vaccine, you're more likely to do it because you're used to just having to do stupid stuff.
Well, yeah, and then you think that all trust goes to daddy government.
Yep.
I mean, they supplement your mom's income, and they took the place. Then the government will take the place of the father in the home. So they think about it. All these women, a lot of black women, but mainly women, are on the internet the last 3 days saying Trump shut down all of our Section 8. He took away our food stamps, and I'm sitting here like, why is it only one group that is completely dependent upon all these socialist, communist services? That's the job of your husband.
Yeah.
You should have a man in the house helping you supplement his income. The government should not keep pretending to be your man.
Yep.
That's because think about it. You have generations of these people from the black community, especially. You have generations that have been on food stamps, welfare, Section 8 for generations.
Yeah.
That means they've been completely without a man in the home, because you can't qualify for those services if a man's in the home, but you're supposed to have kids in the home. So where are the kids coming from? These kids are not being born in Cabbage Patches. They're coming from somewhere else, and the man it's incentivized to get rid of the man, and the government takes the man's place.
Yep.
When they thought Trump was taking away all their little benefits, these people lost their minds, Rocky.
Yeah.
They could not imagine surviving or living without daddy government there to take care of them.
Yep. I saw some lady crying, literally sobbing and hyperventilating.
Oh, that white chick. I seen her.
Yeah,
and
she
and I'm wondering, like, where's the father? You have multiple kids. Where are their dads? Why are you depending on the government for all this stuff? And why? What do you mean? You walked around the kitchen, you're flailing your arms. What do you mean you can't work?
Yep.
What do you mean? Some of us can't work. Why can't you work?
Yep.
You know, I don't like the fact that those people hate capitalists, but they depend on my capitalist tax dollars to support their communist lifestyle. And I don't think that's fair. And I'm like, when are we going to get rid of communism in the United States? We can't afford it no more. And I think Trump's taking it, because think about it. They said only 10% of the illegals that they brought over here were working in the fields. The rest of them were just sitting around getting free money from the government. Communism. There's a huge problem with communism in this country. Trump's taking steps to end it. But when are we going to go that step further and just rip the Band-Aid off and just let the chips fall where they may? When is that going to happen?
I mean, you know, I think what he's doing with the tariffs, I think is better for us than the income tax because that helps the Americans, but then it also limits the amount of funding available for social services, meaning you can't be on welfare your entire life if you don't have
Forever.
any. Yeah, that like that. I think that lady on that video we were just talking about, it was 10 years or something. She said, I've been on Section 8 for 10 years and and all this stuff. And listen, I don't know her story. Maybe her husband died. Maybe she didn't have any family. Maybe she might have some. She might be a one-off story where, yeah, she might need a social safety net for the rest of her life. You know, if she's mentally handicapped and trying to raise kids. But listen, the government, you know, should also manage those funds differently. If you're somebody that can't go to work and you require social services for the rest of your life, for each kid that you bring in, your kids shouldn't be able to draw from that as well. Like you shouldn't be
That
getting
is,
paid more because you keep having kids.
yeah, that's the thing. It's actually the opposite. The more kids you have out of
Yep.
wedlock, the more money and benefits
Yep.
they'll give you.
Yep.
But you got to think about it. Those kids are going to vote Democrat.
They are.
You know,
Yep.
honestly, I think they're. I mean, the Democrats. It seems like they're playing the long game because if you
They
think
are.
like lately, I've noticed they push interracial relationships a lot harder now than they were 5 years ago. But you got to think about it. The product of an interracial relationship is going to lean towards victim. Think about it.
Yep.
You can have
Correct.
a white parent and a black parent.
Yep.
Those kids come out extremely fair skinned, but if you talk to them, they are extremely pro-black. You would have thought they were, you know, slaves, Kunta Kinte themselves. So they identify with the colonizer, but not with the. But they don't identify with the colonizer or the king from England. They want to identify with the slave from Africa, even though they're more white in culture than they are African.
Yep.
They speak
Yep.
English. They believe in Christianity. All of their traditions and culture are in the United States. They're not connected to Africa, but for some reason they want to identify as the victim.
Yep.
So even pushing interracial relationships also it creates more Democrats as well. But
well, look at
people,
what idols they were given to worship, you know, black people. Yes, I do blame them because at the end of the day, it's your job to see through the bullshit and see the bigger picture. But
you got to be
they
an
gave
adult.
this, yeah, the CIA gave them people like Martin Luther King Jr. to worship, and it turns out the dude was a CIA operation. You know what I mean? And when they were done using him for that movement, the Black Power struggle, when they were done using him, they killed the dude.
And you know what? I'll be honest with you. Everything about Martin Luther King was the opposite of power. It was weakness. You know,
communist. He was trying to bring in communism and Marxism. That's what he was trying to. His in-state goal was.
I'll be honest. I attribute a lot of the blame to what Martin Luther King did to the black community for the results that we have from the community today. He taught them how to be statist. He taught them to beg the government. Before MLK, black people owned farms. They owned businesses. Before integration, they were successful. They had their own communities. My community in the United States, we didn't start populating this country until the 70s. But after we got here, we were never begging to integrate with any other community. We have our own restaurants, we have our own stores, we have our own language, our own culture. It's only one community that said, no, the grass is greener on the other side. We want to go be around white people. And that was the black community. It's like when they bring up Rosa Parks. They never tell you that right behind the bus that she wanted to ride on the front of, there was a black-owned bus from a black-owned bus company and she would not support a black business. She could have rode in the front of the black bus, but no.
Well, not only that, but she had a car, bro.
I found that out, and I'll be honest, I have not been the same ever since I found out her husband had a car.
Yeah, her husband had a car. So
listen, think about it.
That was another CIA ran propaganda campaign. The whole Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, those were CIA run propaganda campaigns, just like they did during
Rocky,
BLM with George Floyd and Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot. You know, those are.
But
he was actually. But if you watch the
videos, if you watch the videos, these people were guilty as hell. They were literally attacking the police. And but I don't understand. If you don't believe in law and order of the country that you're living in, instead of just dying or going to prison, why not just change the country you live in and go somewhere else? I wouldn't stay and subjugate myself to rules that I don't agree with or people I don't agree with. I would leave. I don't understand why, if it's so bad in America, why do you want to remain? But I wanted to just say, could you imagine how it must have felt to be a black bus company owner with black buses, and you watch all these people protesting for a year and a half in Montgomery, Alabama, choosing to walk instead of using the black-owned buses? I mean, think about it. If you're trying to protest these bus companies that are owned by white people, why wouldn't you just use the black buses?
Yeah.
That's how you stick with them.
Yeah, because they wanted to ride the white bus. That's why they wanted to ride.
Think about it. People, I was talking to somebody black like a week ago, and they brought up to me segregated water fountains. And I was like, I don't understand how that was a problem when the water all comes from the same pipes. Why did you want to drink in this other water fountain so fucking bad? It just shows you that mentally there's a problem. But I feel like, from what I can tell, Martin Luther King destroyed the black community in America for generations. They've never recovered. Because of Martin Luther King's, people are living their whole life and dying, waiting on a reparations check that's never going to come. For one thing, you were never a slave. And to be honest with you, the stories that we're told about slavery are stories. A lot of that stuff's lies. It's not true. It never happened. And a lot of the fear and the hatred people have for slavery comes from watching that TV series called Roots and 12 Years a Slave and these movies. But in reality, a lot of that stuff, most of it, I'll be honest, most of the slave stories are fake. It's all just propaganda. I don't see any. There's no one ever. The only people that ever tried to tell me about slavery are black people that were never slaves and that weren't there. So how do you know so much more about it than I do? None of it makes any sense. But because of that, think about it. Because of that, the black community ushered in the trans movement. They ushered in the illegals. The black community is literally trying to bring in as many allies as they can for their imaginary war against white people that white people have no idea is being waged against them. Now they're starting to have an idea. Now, the stuff I was telling you 3 years ago, now it's extremely difficult to deny that there's a coordinated effort against white, especially straight white males, or their children.
Listen, and I can prove it to you with this simple, this simple couple of facts. Black people are quick to tell you that there's still sundown towns out there, and there's certain towns that black people can't, and
there's no such place.
Well, let's just say for a second let's just say, that's what I was going to say. Let's just say for a second that sundown.
I think I lost you for a second, Rocky.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back now. There we go.
Okay. So let's just say, for example, that they're right, that there is in fact sundown towns that are white towns, that they don't allow black people to drive around or whatever, still to this very day.
Loiter.
Here's the flip side of that coin. There's still sundown towns for white people. Be a white person and drive around South Chicago. Be a white person East St. Louis or LA, South
There's
Central,
nowhere you
or
can go in
Oakland.
LA that would be safe for. It's really not safe for anybody,
or Oakland, or parts of New York, like certain parts of New York. So there's sundown towns for white people too. I shouldn't catch my white ass walking around South Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Or South San Antonio.
I'll be honest. Anywhere that's a sundown town for white people is also a sundown town for any living person, because it's dangerous for everybody. But the fact is that culture of crime and violence is literally spreading because it's going unchecked. Law and order has broken down. Anything goes. Like I said, remember when I first evacuated Los Angeles and I was telling people, hey, I had to leave because we don't have police anymore. And people were like, oh, but I remember people were saying, oh, we'll police ourselves. We don't need police, and defund the police. But yet, as soon as you get shot, everyone's screaming, call 911. Why? Call Ray Ray, call Pookie. Why are you calling 911? And
Well, I mean,
literally,
look what they did at Chaz or Chop or whatever.
Chaz,
They
it's Chaz and Chop. Yeah.
yeah, Chaz and Chop. They ran that social experiment with no cops in the area. What
No
happened?
cops. And
How many women got raped there? How many
how many people
people
got
died there?
killed? Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
that's what I
People
mean.
got
How many
killed.
people got murdered there?
Yeah.
So, you know,
And they were
miss
trying.
me
They were
with the
trying.
virtue signaling.
And they were trying to do the same thing with like creating an autonomous zone in Atlanta at
Mhm.
Cop City, and that got shut down too. But you got to think about it. This has been the longest 4 years in human history.
The
What you're
last 4
talking
years, you
about,
mean?
these last 4 years have been the
Yeah,
longest
they
years
have. Yeah.
in human history. Things
Yeah.
have progressively gotten worse. Think about it. You were thinking, okay, 2021's got to be better because 2020 was this and this, and then you're like, fuck, let's go for 2022. Okay, you know what? How about this? We're going to wing it out for 2020. Even saying the years is
Yeah.
taking a long time. That's how long this has been. We're now able to breathe fresh air.
Yeah.
Common sense is returning. Things are starting to make more sense and level out. But the fact is, we can never go back to where we were.
Well,
But you know what?
I beg to differ, man. I beg to differ because
I'm
look,
saying
Trump
we
had
spoke.
his first term, right? Trump had his first term, and allegedly Joe Biden beat him. So Trump gave us a good 4 years, and this is what I want. You know, the MAGA community is one of the group of people that I'm most angry with currently because they've
I
built
know
this dude up to be a messiah, and what these fools don't realize is, listen, you've only got 4 freaking years,
with
and
him.
then guess what? Look how fast Joe Biden undid everything that Trump did his first term. He undid all of that on day one, and it was 4 years of pure terror. So now you've got Trump back in office, and yeah, I'm hoping that he's going to make America great again. But Gavin Newsom is planning on running. I'm almost positive he's going to be their runner in 2028, and if he comes in, he can send this country right back into the most devastating, or even worse. I mean, Joe Biden actually didn't even have to really do too much to screw this country up. I mean, he did do horrible things, but I think there was other people pulling the strings. I think if somebody came in and was diligently working on trying to destroy this country, they could do it in 1 year flat.
Yeah,
In
you
one
could.
single year, they could wreck the entire country.
Well, what we learned from Joe Biden is that you can abuse the the executive orders.
Mm-hmm.
Trump actually signed more than him this time to reverse all of it. But
Yep.
you're right. I keep telling people this is why I don't trust Elon Musk. 2 years ago, he wasn't a conservative on our team.
He's
A
not
year and a
now.
half ago.
He's not now.
He's not now. And the thing is this: what if in 2 years he decides to go back, to the Democrats, and he puts his money behind our enemies? Except now he knows the inner workings of the right, and he knows who to go after because he's actually been a double agent on this side.
Yep.
People like that can buy their way into power and influence. How can you trust anything that he's going to do? He can always switch up. He's not loyal to the cause. He's loyal to himself. And that's the
that's
problem.
kind of one of the that's one of the things that concern, Trump has done some amazing things since he's taken office, and it's only been a short couple of weeks or whatever. But he doesn't want to explain things like he met with Bill Gates on New Year's Eve to discuss new vaccine misinformation online. It was to discuss new vaccine misinformation online, and he was saying that Trump needs to get a hold of the companies to dissuade that or persuade them into removing content that is deemed misinformation when it comes to vaccines, because if once that faith and trust in vaccine is ruined, that means that ship they'll never get that back again.
I think we already. I'll be honest. I think we're already there. I mean, look at
but then he had Mark Zuckerberg to the or not to the White House, but he had Mark Zuckerberg down there. What do you have to discuss with Mark Zuckerberg? I thought you hated that dude. You were threatening him with prison, and now you're having private meetings with him. And the next week, Mark Zuckerberg comes out talking about he's going to return free speech, and instead of fact checkers,
the biggest grifters ever. The biggest.
They are. Elon Musk is the same way. He thinks that his community notes or whatever is somehow different than fact checkers. If you're going to attach any kind of information to my post that I've created, my content that I created, that's no different than fact checking. You know what I mean? I don't think somebody needs to add commentary to my stuff. And basically that's what Mark Zuckerberg is switching to. Instead of instead of putting a flag from a fact checker, they're just changing the name from fact checker to community notes. You know, like get
Yeah,
out of here. Nobody's buying any of that crap. It's the
I mean,
same program.
honestly,
You're just changing the name.
I'll be honest with you. I'm an adult. If I want to believe in misinformation, that's my right.
Yeah.
If I want to believe wrong things, that's my
Yep.
right. I
Yep.
keep telling people the First Amendment is not to protect the speech that you agree with.
Yep.
It's to protect the speech that you find abhorrent. The
Yep.
speech that you don't feel has the speech you might call hate speech nowadays. That's the speech that needs to be protected. I'll be honest with you. I don't like the fact that you can't even go through history because it's so heavily edited and redacted for your safety. No, I want to hear the speeches of these dictators. I want to hear what Mussolini had to say. I want to be able to read what Mao thought. I want to be able to compare that to what we're going in, what direction we're going in right now. Think about it. You can't even, I speak German. The last time I listened to any material of Hitler, and it took me a while to find, is when I was in Germany. I could not find anything on the internet right now which I can actually listen to in a full speech from Adolf. But think about it. We should be able to hear everything everybody's been saying and compare that to what we're seeing now, so that we can make sure we don't make the same mistakes again. But they want you to think that if you're a patriot, if you're a person who believes in your country and you want to protect your country, oh well, you're a Nazi now. And I'm like, so no, Nazis were socialists. I'm a capitalist. It's a completely different ideology. But because I'm pro my country, now you want to give me these labels because you want me to resent where I'm from. You know, everybody else can wave their flags anywhere they go. You know, where I live at in Colombia, people walk around with flags on their clothing. They love their country. That's why you don't see tons of Colombians here. They didn't have that many to return because it's actually a really nice place and they actually have capitalism. It's not a super poor country. Things are just cheaper there because the American dollar does better. But if you're in the United States right now, they want you to be so ashamed of your flag, of your heritage, of your background. And it's really just, especially if you're a darker person, it's really the Black community trying to tell you to hate yourself. So I tell people, turn them off. Stop listening to them. If there's any community you're going to ignore going forward in life, ignore that community. There's no point of listening to you. But once you get past listening to that community, everything opens up for you. And the sky's the limit. And now you're starting to see people are kind of coming out of that trance because they're leaving that cult.
They are, and it reflects in the social or the mainstream media, I guess, political coverage. And I like what Trump's doing as far as he's opening up the White House press room to
James O'Keefe. I heard is going to get a press pass too.
Good, yeah, he's opening it up to content creators and YouTubers, and because people have lost all faith and trust in mainstream media reporting, and it's all for good reason, as they should. You know, where they duped the entire world over COVID and you know, they race bait, you know, all kinds of nonsense, and people are done dealing with it, so they get their information.
Well, think about it, Rocky. I reached out to you because I was like, you know, we should start doing these every day because, Rocky, there's something that me and you know that everybody doesn't know. The mainstream media is not going to be there the way it is now pretty soon because people aren't keeping score. If you notice, a lot of them are no longer with us anymore because of what they had to do to keep those jobs.
Yep.
Those people are disappearing every day. That space has to be replaced with somebody. Yeah. You and I can sit here and go over news stories and cover and make up that space if we want to. Sure. That's why independent journalists are going to be in a different position in 5 years from now because those people on television, they all did it. Yeah. None of them said no. Yep. All of them took it. Yep. They're not going to be here anyway. Someone's going to have to replace them.
You know,
that's where we come in. Because honestly, I'm not using AI. I'm not using virtual reporter. No. I'm human based, and we're going to reject all that BS anyway. I mean,
me and you met each other around the COVID time frame, right when COVID was first rolling out. It was back when I was living down in San Antonio, and you had just left Vegas. And
yeah, remember I had moved here. I was in Vegas and Arizona, then I came here because I had to get out of LA.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
looking for greener pastures.
that's when you and I met, and we were talking about the vaccines and the C-19 and all that stuff. And the MAGA community said, yeah, Mr. Operation Warp Speed just made it. He didn't mandate it. And they spent, they bent over backwards defending him, saying, he didn't know what was going on. He didn't, he got played by Fauci and all the
I
people
mean,
or
listen,
whatever. But look,
there's
listen, with his second day in office, he's already talking about rolling out another damn vaccine.
yeah. What is that whole what is it called? Stargate?
Yeah,
What the hell
Operation
is
Stargate or Stargate.
There's no way he can be so connected to everything, but when it comes to this particular topic, he's extremely ignorant and disconnected.
Yeah, I
There's
just want him to stay
way.
away from vaccines. I want him to stop creating vaccines. I want him to stop partnering with, pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
That's not
Focus
even
on
his,
running the country, bro.
yeah,
Stop
that's
focusing
not.
on vaccines.
Listen, that's not even his space of expertise.
Yeah.
Why is he dabbling in it?
Yep.
Leave that up to the states, and the states shouldn't even leave it up to states. They should leave it up to the individuals.
Yeah.
And if you say no, it's a no.
Yep.
Forcing people, because think about it, in other parts of the world, they didn't do what they're doing here. The whole force and coercion, they don't do it. They didn't do it. Australia, they did it. Okay, they only did it in Western G7 countries. New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the UK,
Singapore,
United States. You know what? I'll be honest with you. Those Asian countries, I think they skirted it. They didn't take the 4 big boys that we had, AstraZeneca. They didn't take those. Even the Russians didn't. They said they had their own thing, but for all you know, it was a saline injection. It seems like they had something specifically for these Western English-speaking countries. That's why I tell people the Western world and the BRICS nations are completely separate. And it seems like they're trying to dismantle the Western world, and they're going to try to replace it with BRICS countries because they're not doing the depopulation thing. Think about it. They have billions of people in India and China. We're barely hovering on our best day at 340. We might be less. We might be at 300 right now because, well, they said we lost 10 million Democrat voters. Where did they go? They didn't become Trump supporters. I know where they went, and Rocky, you know where they went too, because we know we know what Democrats did. We know what Democrats did to themselves.
Yep.
We talked about
it. But they kind of replaced those over the last 4 years. There's estimated that there's anywhere between 16 and 22 million people crossed the border over the last 4 years.
That's what I've heard. I mean, they all say 10 to 12 million, but I believe it was like 20 something million.
Yeah, I think it was probably closer to 22 million.
That's a lot of rock. That's a lot of people, brother.
It is. And think about how when Trump starts talking about he's going to run the largest deportation campaign that the world has ever seen. Well, you have to have, if you've got 22 million people to round up, that means you got to have 22 million people willing to go hunt these, at minimum,
exactly,
and just minimum to hunt them down, and that's a 1-for-1. Ideally, if you got 22 million, you want at least 60 million looking for the 22 million. You don't want just one person looking for one.
Yeah, and then think about
forever.
it. And then you got to think about it. But one thing I'm learning is that these sanctuary states, they're actually getting out of the way. I remember that piece of trash, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, was saying that he's going to stop Trump and he's not going to. But the Homan showed up in Chicago and started taking away illegals and arresting illegals that were, criminals that have records. Brandon Johnson disappeared and went into hiding. He's not over there fighting to stop those people.
You're talking about the mayor of Chicago?
Of Chicago, yeah.
He actually did a press conference, and I saw his press conference, and they asked him. I guess Holman went into Chicago, like you said, and he ended up catching a few PDF files.
Mm-hmm.
The kid diddlers. He ended up finding and arresting some of those, and they asked the mayor of Chicago, why was he able to catch this many PDF files, on here in 2 days, and this is your town, and you couldn't find them? And he said, it's not my job to find them. It's the federal government's job to find them.
No. It's your job as the mayor, because he's the one over the police department. you're instructing your police officers to not ask for proof of citizenship, also to not work with deportation like ICE. I remember they blocked ICE from even working in that city. So you're not even able to deport these people. So now you just have criminals on the streets and victimizing more and more people. I'll be honest. I've watched the black community in Chicago do a complete 180, and now they're completely super ultra MAGA. And
Really?
they're literally, and bro, they're screaming for Trump to come and take away
No
Brandon
kidding.
Johnson, to come take the illegals. Oh, they've been begging. They show up to the events and they're all from Chicago, and they're saying that they've literally displaced us in our own neighborhoods, and they've been giving all of our money away to these illegals, and we don't know why. And they found the forms that it showed that the illegals were getting 3,000 or 4,000 a month in food stamps, and they're like, I'm getting 300.
Yep.
So it's like the communists got mad because new communists came and out-commied them. But you know, hey, listen, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So
True.
you know, and I
That
know
is true.
you know, so it's like, yeah, we make strange bedfellows, but if ultimately we have the same goal, and then we'll get to the next part, then you know, so be it. You
we
know,
can
we
always be enemies later, but currently, you know,
think about it.
focusing on the
People don't realize the way we speak English is very unique. You know another American when you talk to one, especially when you're abroad. And there's a camaraderie between us. Only when you're here in America, you're not, these people, they've never left America, so they don't know how special this is. You know, there's not a lot of us. 320 million out of 8 billion is not a lot of people.
It's
so,
not, no.
you know, but the thing is, our American citizenship should be elite. But if just anybody can jump the border and vote, then how's our citizenship worth anything? We have to make being American mean something. So I tell people, it's not just America first, it's Americans first. That's why I rejected Musk and Vivek when they were talking about this H-1B visa situation. What did you feel? What did you think about that topic?
So I had kind of mixed feelings about it. Simply, I have a friend that's Italian. He's from Italy, a close friend of mine. He comes over on the weekends. We do some, you know, shooting and some training and stuff together. And he's in. He's not an H-1B visa. It's an H-1. I want to say H-1 Bravo, or it's H-1 something different than the B. Or it might be a H-1 Charlie or H-1 Delta or something.
I think it could be H-1C, but I'm not. I'll look it up.
So you know, but he's from Italy. He's been here on this visa since 2009. So he's been here contributing, and he's a multi-billionaire. In taxes, he pays anywhere from 50 to 100,000 a year in taxes for this country. You know, so although they won't grant him citizenship, he's allowed to buy.
Why won't they grant him citizenship?
I'm not sure. I think it's because you know, while he's here, he does own firearms. He was one of the January 6th people. He was there on J6.
Oh man.
Yeah. So they, you know,
I'm glad they're getting out though. I'm glad they got out.
Yeah. So, but you know, hopefully, you know, now that Trump's in office, he could get citizenship here. I mean, I agree with the H-1B visas if we're bringing in like rocket scientists or data coders or really high positions. But if you're just bringing in baristas to work at Starbucks, no, I don't think so, man.
Well, I mean, as far as I can tell, they're bringing in tech slave workers. So this is how it works. A recruiter will find you in India. They're going to tell you the job pays $120 a year. But when you get here, it actually only pays $80, and you have to do a kickback every month to the recruiter. And plus they put you in housing and they take some of your money out. So basically you're only coming out here, you're in an apartment. Because I remember when I lived in Arizona, I lived in these luxury apartments. All of my neighbors, it was like 50 apartments, and there was like 8 Indian guys in each apartment. And they would dress up nice every day and go to work, but there's 8 of them in every apartment, 4 in each room. It was like dorm style living. And I'm like, well, why are those guys, what type of work are they doing that requires somebody from India instead of somebody from America? The thing is, when you hire an American, it's a risk because the American person can come in, you can train them, they can learn how your business works. And if they get a little bit of funding, they can quit and become your competition. when you're bringing in labor from other countries and you're trusting them with sensitive information about how your business works, especially with tech data and that sensitive information about, how your company, how your systems operate, they don't want, that's proprietary information. They really don't want people that can compete with them working those jobs. So they're bringing over a slave force that you're only going to have to pay a third of what you're paying American. Plus, they're completely dependent on you for housing. So they're loyal to you. And that's why Elon Musk got so mad when that was brought up. People were like, why are you talking about Americans can go fuck themselves in the face? 2 weeks ago, you were just saying that you want to be our conservative and we're brothers. What the hell is going on? And then Vivek defended it as well. And then you find out these guys are basically running high-tech Indian slave labor. These are jobs that require mental. It's not physical. So it's not like, okay, you got to be this tall so you can dunk a basketball, so they're only going to hire these guys. This is all mental stuff. There's nothing that these guys are doing on a computer that a trained American can do. The only thing they're doing different is they can accept less money. Why?
That's what I try to explain to people.
Hey, listen, that's why I reject when people talk to me about slavery. I tell people that slavery is just as much a part of the human dynamic as breathing air. Every culture, every civilization, everything, everyone finds a way to put another person into slavery. If you can do it, you will do it. And even today, now they're finding high-tech jobs because think about it, in India, you might only make $10,000 a year. So if they're giving you $40,000 a year in America, that's still a net positive because even though you should be getting 120, you're only getting 40, but 40 is better than 10. I mean, it's just slavery. That's what I see about it. It's slavery.
It is. And then when you got American people that are, people that have kids like myself that are coming up and they're out there trying to find jobs. Now my kids have to work for the same amount that Habib from India is working, doing the exact same job, because Habib came over here and fucked it all up for our kids,
and that's the problem. That's one of the constraints of capitalism is you have to do what generates the most money. And I'll be honest with you, slave labor makes a lot of sense. Why do you think we import so much from China? Trump adding these tariffs would make buying Chinese goods just as, it'll actually be more expensive than if you just open a factory and manufacture it here in America. Can you believe that we don't even make anything in here anymore?
Man, it's sad.
All we export is culture. What do we export?
It's funny how people back in the 1800s crying about who was going to pick the cotton when they ended slavery and who's going to grow our food and who's going to tend to our gardens and stuff.
Same thing about illegals.
They're doing the same thing now. They're crying about who's going to pick our vegetables, who's going to work our data call centers. I'm sorry, I can't understand Habib anyway.
I'm tired of having to figure out what somebody is saying, and they're pretending. I mean, they do a fake good American accent sometimes, but once the question becomes too complicated, then they kind of shut down.
They melt down.
I'm tired of it. I don't want to call Airbnb and talk to somebody in Nepal or somebody in Sri Lanka. I want to talk to somebody in America, and I'm tired of these companies trying to save so much goddamn money that it's at the expense, because where are our kids supposed to work in the future? Exactly. And that's the thing. These companies are not thinking about tomorrow. They're thinking about today. Everyone has been pretending for the last 20 years that there was another country somewhere that we could all flee and evacuate to once we crash this one. There's nowhere else for us to go. Nope. They're not building a colony in the Ukraine for all these Americans to go. There's nowhere else. This is it. Canada's gone. Listen, we got to figure out what we're going to do to protect this place. And then you think about it, the people that they're saying we're working in the fields and doing that labor, barely 10% of them were the ones that came across the border. The rest of the other 90% were living off the government, and the government was willing to pay you for your votes. But again, it was too big to rig this time, and we got lucky. But you're right. In 4 years from now, we could be right back easily where we were if the wrong person gets in.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at earlier is the MAGA community. Your man got into office. That's great. You trusted him. You said you liked what he did the first time around, and which I agree. I did. I think things were great under Trump. But now that your man is back in office, you know that he can do a good job. I think the MAGA community needs to start focusing on who's going to run in his place in 2028. I can't think of anybody that's going to stand toe to toe with Gavin Newsom, because the West Coast people over there on the West Coast, they seem to love that dude.
I don't know why they do. The guy is.
I don't either.
You know what? I can tell you why.
He's a greaseball.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I'm from California,
Yeah.
and when I finally, I didn't know this was true until the recall. There was a recall for Gavin Newsom in 2021. After he survived the recall and I found out why he survived, I was done with California. Okay, 2020.
What happened?
Well, 2020.
Well, I knew about the recall, but what happened that the
Well,
reason
this
why
is
he
what
was
happened.
able to beat it?
Well, in 2020, people from Orange County to San Diego to the Bay Area to all the way to the tip of the Oregon border in California literally signed petitions to trigger a recall.
Yep.
The recall was going to remove him from office, and then there would be a runoff election, and then they were going to put Larry Elder as the governor in California. We had so much momentum against Gavin Newsom. Do you know what saved him?
Probably being Nancy Pelosi's nephew.
No. Close though. The Black and the gay communities.
Wow.
Because what he did was he made a negotiation. What he said he would do for Black people is he would reduce the penalties for crime and actually raise the limit of what is even considered crime. So in California, if you steal something, if you shoplift and it's less than $950, it's not an arrestable offense.
Well, they changed that now. They changed it.
Well, now they just changed that. But for years, you could go into a store, and as long as it's under $950, you could just shoplift all you want. So what that meant was less incarceration for Black people. They were like, okay, we can get away with this. Gavin Newsom made that possible. He made crime legal. And what he did for the gay community was he worked with someone named, was it Scott Wiener out of San Francisco? And what they did was they decriminalized PDF files that are caught having underage sex with children. He decriminalized it so that you would no longer have to register on the sex offenders list.
Yep.
Those were his two offers to those two communities, and they backed him and they saved him from the recall. And I remember being in shock, and I asked the few Black friends I had, I was like, well, why did you guys vote for Gavin Newsom? And in their minds, they were like, well, he's letting us get away with whatever we want to. Also, I want another stimulus check, and he's going to keep California closed. They did not want California to reopen. So they said, as long as Newsom's in power, I don't got to go back to work. Remember, people don't understand this. And I keep telling people this, and no one really, it's hard for them to grasp it mentally. We didn't have to pay rent for 3 years. We didn't have to pay for electricity. We didn't have to pay for the water bill. We didn't have to pay money for the gas bill, for gas to come into our homes. All we paid for was internet for over 3.5 years. That lifestyle became addictive.
Yeah.
People are struggling right now. Think about it. Everybody rejected even going back to work in the Capitol when Trump said you got to go back to the office. People are still trying to sue now because everyone got a taste of living off of welfare and just staying home and hanging out all day, and they don't want to go back to work. California rejected going back to work, and that's why those communities voted to keep Newsom in and voted against the recall. And that's how we lost. He made negotiations for the support from the Black and the gay communities, and that saved him from the recall. And a lot of people don't know this because they don't study the history of California.
Yeah.
I left because of this. So this is all I know.
Yeah.
I was there. And then you can just look it up. I share this stuff on the Safe and Effective podcast. I share when he reduced the penalties for PDF files. I said, wait a minute. So you don't got to register on the sex offender list? Nope.
Wow.
He said, because what they said was that the laws for shoplifting were inadvertently affecting the Black community disproportionately, and laws against pedophiles were disproportionately affecting the gay community. Who gives a fuck? I'm sorry, who gives a freak? If you're harming kids and you're stealing, you should be affected. It doesn't. If it's a pattern of a bunch of you guys, then so be it.
Yeah,
This is insane that what we've had to compromise just to we gave up everything for what? So that we could try to steal an election. And now that that's over, we can look back in hindsight as 2020. We'll say, wow, this has been a long 4 years.
yeah.
Long.
I mean, I think we've got a long road ahead of us. If Trump's going to clean up house, I think he needs to start with, you know, breaking up the CIA, breaking up the FBI. Like those are two organizations, you know, dismantling the IRS and completely doing away with the IRS.
He said that it's going to be the ERS, and they're just going to go after foreign companies and tariffs who do business in the United States, and then he's going to get rid of the IRS for the United States.
Good. I'm all for it. You know, if he follows through and makes that happen. But you know, one of the biggest problems we have currently is the CIA and their involvement in a lot of things. The JFK assassination,
Their involvement in the Ukraine. The CIA runs Ukraine.
Yes, they do. They also have major hands in what's happening between Israel and Gaza, and the fact that, you know, a lot of our high positions in this country are owned by, I hate to say it, we'll call them the tiny hat wearers. You know.
Hey, you know what? Everybody gets mad when you bring up certain people. Why? If it's accurate, if it's true. Now what you can do is, how about this? Counter my argument. If I'm wrong, counter it.
Yeah.
Tell me where I'm wrong, and then we can go from there. But I don't believe anybody should be off limits. And honestly, Trump and DeSantis trying to pass these anti-Semitic, anti-free, that goes against our free speech laws. You can't control my speech. I will talk about whoever the hell I want to.
Yeah.
I'm an American. I don't have to like anybody. If I don't want to like you based on your gender ideology or your race, I don't have to. I don't have to like anybody I don't want to.
Matter of fact, if you live in this country and you want to be racist, this is the country where you can be racist.
I'll be honest. I love racism. I think it's great. I think it's funny. And I think,
I'm okay with like racism in a jokes manner, but to segregate somebody or to just look at somebody and automatically hate them because of the color of their skin, I got a little problem.
No. I'm not saying automatically hate them, but I don't think there's anything wrong with pattern recognition.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I see a black dude standing in front of me and he's got, music blast in front, like rap music playing on the loudspeaker from his pocket, and he's got his pants sagging, and he's got a hat on sideways and stuff like that. I know that that's probably not somebody I want to take to a business meeting or home to sit and have dinner with me and my family. No,
honestly, hey, listen, I profile people every day of my life. And if there are certain people I look at and I'm like, if I see a bunch of black dudes, or if I see a bunch of any group, and if they're bigger than me, I'm walking the other way, because the odds are.
But you know what? That extends to white people too. If you're standing in front of me and you got holes in all your clothes and you ain't got no shoes on and you've only got one tooth left and all the rest of them are black and your hair looks like it hasn't been cut.
And you
smell like piss. Yeah, if you smell like piss, I don't want to be around you either. I'm not taking you home to meet my family.
And listen, and I'm not going to allow you to walk into my establishment and sit down smelling like shit, looking like shit with your tooth. I'm going to discriminate against you. I don't want you here. There should be certain ethics that everybody has to follow. Hygiene is there.
Yes.
Think about it. What's up with your girl right here? This is something this is a big deal.
Lions watch party this month. Winter lift rolled up. As I walk in, I see him making faces and whatever. I'm like, oh man, she already knew. Not enough room in his car. The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires. The driver said his tires could not handle.
If your tires can't handle, it's my car. I know my car better than you. I
guess she's a tire expert too. I guess she's a tire
exactly. So now she's like, I did 15 years working for Goodyear. I know tires better than anybody.
I know your tires can handle me.
Listen, if I see somebody who looks like her, I'm going to profile that person. I'm likely not going to take medical advice for them or get a.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask them for a meal plan, but I'm
Yeah.
also not going to let them ride in my Toyota, my little bitty tiny
Yeah.
my Toyota Sentra
Toyota
or
Corolla.
whatever.
Yeah.
My Corolla. He's
Yeah.
in a Corolla, and
Yeah.
she's literally the same size as the Corolla. Listen, I'm going to profile you. I don't want
Yeah.
you in my car, but it should be my car. It's my right. They didn't. She's like, well, he's like, look, I didn't accept the money. You're getting a full refund. I don't want your business because I can't handle it. And if something cracks on my, like, think about it. I hit something in the road and I cracked my suspension on my car. I don't have a car for months. If this guy, if she gets in there and she damages his car, this is how he makes money. How long is it going to take to get the car fixed? How much is it going to cost? Is Uber or is Lyft going to help pay for it? Hell no. So you want me to put my property at risk because you want me to virtue signal because this is a protected class of people that I have to capitulate to? Hell no.
Yeah.
And I bet you if that driver was black, this would not be a case.
Probably not. Probably
no,
not.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, I think so. Let's start doing these more often, man. I think we're running about an hour and a half.
Hour. Yeah. You know what we should do? Make a list of the topics and we'll go through each one. We'll do like 4 or 5 tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
This is our first one. This is our first one.
Exactly. This is fairly easy. It's not as hard as I thought it would be, and I want to get this mic stuff figured out, and I'd be down to co-host a show with you, man. Because
listen, all you got to do is just send me if you see some stuff throughout the day, send it to me, and then I'll put it on my wall. And what we do is we just go through the topics like this.
Okay. Yeah.
We just go through the topics where I can bring up YouTube. I can bring up other places. Awesome. A lot of stuff's on X. So
yeah.
Awesome. Just let me know, Rocky. It's always good talking to you, brother.
Yeah, always. I'll text you when we get off here. We'll set up the next one.
Okay, cool. And then, like I said, I'll send you where all these are located, all the different platforms. You can see the video.
I mean, I follow your YouTube channel, so I imagine does it just get posted there?
Yeah, Safe and Effective. It's on there automatically. We just, you know what I'm trying to find somebody that does video editing that can chop up our segments and post them for us. I'm gonna hire somebody to manage all this stuff and to make thumbnails and all that.
Yeah,
I'm learning how this stuff works. I don't know anything about this, bro. I'm amateur. I'm just doing this for fun, talking to you.
Yeah, man.
I'm on here, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out.
Plus, we go way back. We go back.
Yeah, we go back for years now.
2020, man.
Yeah, bro. Trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
I still think the Marburg. I think the Marburg virus is still coming. I think we were right about that. It just hasn't came yet. We were off on our time, but I think that is still coming, and maybe we'll pick up with that.
You got to think about it. If it would have happened sooner, they would have said we were prophets. Maybe we could be the reason they had to pivot. The way how they have to keep changing everything. That every time Alex Jones calls it out, they got to change their playbook. They could have done that because they seen our interviews. Maybe that's why our pages got taken off and where we can't even go live for hundreds of days.
Yeah. What happened to Alex Jones? Is he still claiming that the globalists are taking over, or why did he all of a sudden stop talking about globalists and all that stuff once Trump got in office?
Well, the Sandy Hook stuff was a big deal. Also, they were trying to sell InfoWars from underneath him.
Yeah, I knew that.
But Elon, but then the company that was going to buy it, I believe it was The Onion, they ended up not having the money to buy it. They tried to buy it with an IOU. So it went back to Alex Jones. And anyway, to keep it, he made a deal with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is covering all of the legal fees. So
cool.
and now Alex Jones is working out, and he's listening to Joe Rogan more. So he's kind of like in a different mind space. Also, he's been doing it for so long with his bullhorn. He's looking to retire. That's why I'm saying there's people like me, you and I, we can come into this space because someone's going to have to pick up when he retires, because there's still going to be a fight. We're still fighting.
Yeah, I mean, the globalists are not going to give up. They're not just, Trump got elected. I guess we're going to give up on that whole one world order thing. They've been talking about that stuff since, back with I know as late as Reagan and Kennedy, talking about one world government.
People don't understand the globalists are gay. Klaus Schwab is a gay man. Yuval Noah Harari is a gay
They're
man.
the tiny hat wearers, bro.
They exactly. It all comes from them. Actually, what I'm noticing, it seems like the tiny hats and the globalists, the World Economic Forum, it's like they're fighting a proxy war against each other. Because think about it, the World Economic Forum is paying for all these pro-Palestine protests against Israel.
Yes.
So they're keeping the pressure going, and it seems like they're both fighting over America. Like the influence that the tiny hats have over the US and its arsenal, the World Economic Forum wants that same influence, but they have to get the tiny hats out of the way. So I'm noticing a lot of so many proxy fights and proxy battles going on right now.
There are. Maybe
but
I'll
give you I'll show you all my evidence the next time we talk. But I'm gonna go and when I end this, I'm gonna upload these videos and then
I'll send people here.
Yeah, send me some messages or whatever, and then we'll talk. We'll come up with some topics and probably talk tomorrow.
All right, sounds good, brother.
Hey, brother, America first, man. I'll talk to you soon, Rocky.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.